Hello everybody, welcome to your weekend edition of the TraderMerlin Show. Happy Friday, Siraj. We got Tony with us, Margaret, Drew, Giselle. We've got David Russell. Yes, we can definitely talk about gold and silver today. Les, Alex Mook, it's good to see you. Cheers, happy Friday everybody. Good to see you, Chris, as well. It's been so long since I've held a precious glass of fine Kentucky straight bourbon. This actually was a gift from Kevin. So Kevin, thank you so much for this Kings County distillery. It is absolutely delicious. Surprisingly, coming from New York, it's still damn good. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. The remnants of the dreaded C were disappearing from my system. I was trying to make something kind of funny with the COVID. I was going to say, show a boxing match with me versus COVID, and I won. But that's all I got for you for today. All right. So today's show obviously is going to be more of a wrap-up. I've got a lot to talk about. We'll run through the indexes. A lot of you have been sending in a bunch of different questions. We have questions about Apple's new driverless car. We got questions about Tesla. We got questions about different indexes. I got all kinds of good questions coming in. So I will do my best to field your questions as they come through. For those who might be new to the show, which is probably nobody because we just got the regular group here. If you are new, you can simply type in a couple question marks before your question if it's directed at me. If you're just communicating and chatting with the group, awesome. That's great as well. I'll usually try to look through those, but I'm primarily searching for the question marks so I know if something's directed at me. And of course, hit subscribe, like, whatever you want to do. All right, let's move on with our November 19th edition. Options expired today, so I'm sure that cleaned the plate a little bit. We've got one more expiration left until the end of the year. Haven't made any new options purchases or sales in my book yet. All right, let me go here and start off with one basic question, which I actually got this from multiple people today. I thought that was kind of interesting, but I'll use Alec. Alec says, with the announcement about Apple Car, is it too late to buy? Well, look, first off, you have to understand this was just a talk track. People have known that Apple was going to be coming out with a car at some point. They just made it a little bit clearer. Now, the challenge I see with this is we're not talking about Apple making a car next year or in 2023 or 2024. I mean, this is like maybe in 2025. So is it too late to buy Apple? Not at all. I think we want to look at a price chart, which of course that will do for us right now, and then make the assessment from that. So let's look at AAPL. Nope, that's the total wrong ticker symbol. So there's Apple, and of course, news like that propels it to all-time highs yet again. Here's your weekly of it. We'll go down to the daily so we can get a little bit clearer slice of the pie. There you guys can see we've broke through those all-time highs. It's been 3 straight days of just nothing but running for pretty much most of the Nasdaq giant mega cap tech stocks. So the question from Alec is, is it too late to buy? I don't think it's ever too late to buy. It's just, is this the right time to buy? And keep in mind, we have the benefit of knowing that we are going to have at least 4 years until Apple actually gets a fully driverless autonomous vehicle on the road. And I think by the time we get there, let's look at the monthly. By the time we get to that level, we will probably have some nice pullbacks in Apple, which would give you a better buy point if, in fact, you were thinking of holding it for that long. And, to me, I don't have to think you have to worry about chasing Apple, right? It's just, it'll have pullbacks and wait for a pullback if it's something you want to hold for the long term. The bigger question in all of this, Alec and others that are looking at jumping on Apple, is usually what gives Apple such a huge competitive head start is they're usually the first to market with things. If they're not first to market, they come to market with something that is so cutting edge that it replaces what was the market leader at the time. Gotta wonder, though, having not built a vehicle officially yet, I probably have some in testing, but having not officially built a vehicle and then looking at somebody like Tesla who has been gathering AI data on every single vehicle that they have on the road, you gotta wonder how big is that barrier to entry going to be with driverless cars for Apple. To me, I think that this is one of the more challenging things they're jumping into, and I don't think they'll be able to do it alone. My assumption would be they will probably partner up with an automaker out there, maybe Toyota, maybe Volkswagen, Ford today backing out of the Rivian deal. So that type of opens the opportunity for me where Apple would come in with technology and the name, and then you'd have an auto manufacturer who that's their core competency, building a better job. So yeah, I think I agree with Margaret. She says it should be a joint venture with Ford, really anybody. Personally, I think that if I was Toyota, I would be bidding and saying, hey, Apple over here, or Honda, right? Get one of those guys in there. Samsung would beg to differ on that. Agreed, Jay. We could have that debate back and forth. Some people think Apple's the greatest phone device. When it came out, it was beating Samsung. Period. Right? When it came out, it was destroying Samsung. Samsung wasn't even really there. Now Samsung has a fantastic product. So you're right. Apple was the lead dog, and now Samsung. Is it better? Is it the lead company? Who knows? That's a debate for another time. But I think, Alec, if you're thinking about buying Apple, wait for the right time. I think now you would just be chasing something, right? You would maybe be chasing this one a little bit to the upside, and I think that, I don't know. Again, you're going to have to wait 3-4 years for a driverless car, and I think at that point, I think Tesla will probably have a full autonomous vehicle a couple of years before Apple. They're already there. We're pretty much there with a driverless car. So it'll be interesting to see how it shapes up. What does this mean to other companies like Lucid? Oops, let me get the right ticker symbol in there. LLC. It's not the whiskey, folks. We're good. There's Lucid soaring this week. Obviously, it's been a great couple weeks. But if we go to the daily, all right, you had a big up move on Lucid today. You saw, what was the other one? Rivian take a little bit of a hit today. So, not looking so good for Rivian, but of course that to me is just an overpriced market at this point. I think Rivian is due for a much bigger correction. I think you're going to see it sub $80 here probably in the next couple of weeks as it drifts back down to more logical levels. And then from there, Rivian definitely has a chance, but I think it's just a little bit overpriced right now. So there you go, Alec. That's my input on the Apple thing. To me, it's not that big of a deal. It's known. People know that Apple is going to be doing this. It's just a matter of actually getting the tires on the road, no pun intended. And that, to me, is going to be years down the road. All right, next listener question. I'm going to try to get through the ones that were sent in overnight, and then we'll move on to the live stuff coming through. So Larry, I don't think this was Jacobson, but Larry says, what are your thoughts on airline stocks for the long term? Without even looking at a price chart, I can say that long term, I'm bullish on airline stocks. We mentioned this back in 2020 when we had a show. I think we did a special just on airline stocks, and it was really painting an ugly picture for the short term because, maybe creating a little bit of fear in the marketplace. People are afraid to fly. I don't know if anybody here has flown recently, but you have a lot of people who are panicked to get on airplanes because they're worried about being in close confines with other people and getting COVID. At some point that will pass, whether we, get everybody immunized or we come up with some solution. But I think airlines are fine. It's cruise ships that I'm a little more pessimistic on. But we'll look at some airline stocks here and see what the pictures are saying, what the chart is saying about airline stocks. So, in disclosure, I do not own at this moment. I'm thinking, do I own any airline stocks? I do not own any airline stocks at all. So, there we go. So, let me just run through what I would start with, which would be something like JETS, JETS. This is an ETF that has most of the major airline carriers in there. You look at the price sell-off here. It's been pretty much down for the past 2 weeks, but this is just a big oscillation between 22 and 25 on JETS. Now, if I zoom out a little bit further, it does look rather weak, but as you guys know, I'm one that loves range-bound markets, and it's a little tricky to see where that range-bound market is on JETS. But we've got a rough estimate, rough ballpark between $25, as I mentioned there, and you could argue down here around $21.50, maybe as a spread type of trade. Sorry, Jin Blang. I'm trying to be politically correct. Getting the vaccines or getting stuck with some chemicals that haven't been tested thoroughly out over the period of 3 years yet. Anyway, we won't go down that route. So as far as airlines go, it to me in the short term, it's not really a great play. It doesn't look like it's doing anything, right? You got just pretty much traversing sideways. But for the long haul, I think that's a different picture. In the long haul, I think you'll see this get back up to speed. You're not seeing a full chart here because Jets started back in 2015, so we don't get the big picture. But you're near the end of a pullback, in my opinion. It looks like it's pulled back into an area of demand, which we saw going all the way back into late 2020. So long-term Jets might not be too bad. Now let's look at some, individual names, as I'm trying to say there. United Airlines obviously comes up as being one of the major players. You notice it's the same picture. A real sharp, aggressive sell-off, and I think a lot of this has to do with the belief and the talk track that we are starting to see countries go back into lockdown. I think Austria made an announcement that they're going to start full lockdown in their country on Monday. We'll see how that goes, but Europe looks like they're having a resurgence of COVID. So again, a little shock to the system for UAL and maybe some others, but it's right at an area of demand, a relatively decent one in my opinion on the daily time frame, and that demand zone being right around $46. And right now you're at 46.11 on United Airlines. So not bad. But, if we break some of these most recent lows, namely the ones that go all the way back into July of 2021, you start to see some unfilled gaps here. And if we do go back into lockdown mode for the holidays, well, we might see this get even lower. So as long as you are practicing risk management, put your stop losses in place, I think it's probably okay to take a stab at it here at this point. All right, now let's see. American Airlines would be another one. AAL, same picture, right? Aggressive swing right back down into demand zone. My personal favorite airline, Southwest Airlines, L to the U to the V, actually looking worse than both United, American, and the Jets ETF. Not sure exactly why that would be the case, but Southwest, great airline, and you can see that it's been breaking the most recent lows, and now all of a sudden it looks like it's challenging this demand zone that's going to go all the way back into 2021 in February, which is right around $44 on LUV. So as much as I like Southwest, it looks the worst of the four we've looked at so far. And lastly, how about JetBlue? So there's JetBlue Airlines, and again, same picture, coming right back down into demand. So I think, Alaska is good. Let me see. I always forget. ALASKA. ALASK. I feel like I'm spelling that one wrong. There it is. Alaska Aircraft. ALK. I always forgot the ticker symbol. Good airline, certainly better than Spirit Airlines. That dump of an airline. My goodness. Anybody ever flown Spirit Airlines? I was flying up for a funeral up in Northern California. This is like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm racing to get to the airport in time. I was late. I get there and I roll up to the window and go, "Yes, like to check into a flight. I'm headed to Oakland, California." And the lady just looks at me real quick. It was almost like planes, trains, and automobiles, that reaction. She just lifted her head, looked at me and go, "That flight's been canceled," and puts her head right back down and pretends like she's working. I said, "Well, is there another flight?" "Excuse me, ma'am, is there another flight?" And she raised her head like I was the annoyance, and she says, "No, there's no more flights." And puts her head back down. I was like, "Well, can you find some way to get me to Northern California? I'm going to a funeral." "Nothing I can do for you, sir. Good day." And I'm like, I will never fly this dump of an airline ever again. Even though they were cheaper than anything else. I had to run to Southwest Airlines and actually got on Southwest Airlines. Anyway, Spirit. It's funny. There's this carrot that dangles in front of us for so many things in life, and that's price. You look at it and you go, "Oh man, it's so cheap to fly Spirit." Yeah, they're like one of the most delayed airlines. They cancel all their flights. They charge you for every single thing, but it's so much cheaper. Oh, it's a tough one. Horrible but cheap, right? If you're a glutton for punishment and want to be disappointed, Spirit Air is for you. Anyway, that Alaskan Airlines chart not looking so good. Yeah, totally customer service at its best. I couldn't believe it. I was just like dumbfounded at how bad the service was. Really rude. Help a customer out, help people out. It's what makes us human in nature, is the ability to help people and work together. Anyway, United Airlines, this almost falls in the same category as I saw with Southwest Airlines, right? It's making new lows. Now, remember, we had UAL making slightly higher lows, so that's stronger than Southwest or JetBlue. Then you had American Airlines also kind of staying near those lows, and all of a sudden Love, right, making new lows, and the same with Alaska Airlines making new lows. So it doesn't look the strongest. So I guess the long-winded answer to your question, Larry, long term, I like it. I guess it's a matter of at what point do you want to buy these ones and hold it for the long term. is it better to buy them outright or go out and maybe buy a leap on Jets, right? JETS, which to me is probably the safer thing to do would be to buy Jets because you have a basket, a full portfolio of airline stocks, which can mitigate some of the individual single stock risk if you just bought Southwest or Alaska or something like that. So there you go, Larry. I'm bullish long term. I think, as I think Alex posted here, airlines keep everybody connected. Keep things moving around. Unless you're somebody like John Madden, who refuses to get in an airline and has to ride a bus all around the country, airlines are the way to go. If you got a game in Oakland, I'm thinking of John Madden now. If you got a game with your football team in Oakland and you got the next Saturday you have a game in Florida, that's a long bus ride, my friends. Anyway, let's see. What's the last question I had here? Oh, this was a good one. And as you guys know, I do like technical analysis. I'm an absolute technical analysis fan. I'm not an expert, I don't think, but I study it. I've got lots of books over here off to my left on technical analysis, but really it's about just learning the ins and outs, putting them on charts, and seeing how they work. Karen says, and we talked about this week, I think it was on Tuesday's show or Wednesdays, I did a show just on moving averages. She says, is there a way to test and see what moving average cross strategy works best? I'll say this. I'm personally not a huge fan of backtesting. I believe backtesting is giving you false hope. Markets aren't about what happened necessarily in the past. It's about what's going to happen in the future. So for me, backtesting, I think, may give you a false impression about something. Yes, it may have worked in the past, but as you've seen, markets change. The dynamics of markets will change over time. May not have changed since 2009 when you have this not so invisible hand of the government just pushing the markets up on purpose. But, So let me see. There is actually an easy way to test out some of these strategies. And as you guys know, I will try to show you the free ways to do so. So we were looking at using moving averages. Here we have the 20, and there's your 50. You can do different crossovers. And one way to do it would be to manually change these yourself and find out which one gets you the best. But there isn't really like a strategy tester here. This is with TradingView, and if you want, you could click on indicators, and you'll see there's this thing that says built-ins. So there's strategies that you can implement right here. And all of these are different strategies that you can implement, and it will spit out results and said, hey, if you did this, you would have made X amount of dollars. So let me go through here and let's just do a moving average 2-line cross, right? So we click on that and right away it spits out some defaults here. So here's the daily, and the time frames that it's using are a 9 and an 18 period moving average. I'm not sure why that's the default. That's kind of a weird one. If you guys have a specific moving average crossover you want me to put in here, just throw it out there, right? Just say, hey, I'd like to look at this one or this one. These two numbers here, and I will put it in for you so we can see the results. So you can see that with an 9 and an 18 period moving average crossover, it's showing you the net profit. You would have made 834 trades. That's nice. And you would have lost $7.35. So not the best strategy. We can go in here and change all of this, which certainly would maybe give us some different results. So let's see, what time frame? I think you guys mentioned, I always forget this one, an 8 and 89 is something that Brandon uses. Now, of course, this is going to give us very odd results, but remember, an 8 and a 1, you wouldn't use a 1-period moving average. That's just the last candle. It would be a weird crossover. You get so many signals less, you'd be doing hundreds and thousands of trades. There you go, 821, that's a little bit better. Let's just do 8 and 89. This is obviously a much longer term one. 281 total closed trades for a net profit of $38, and that is 0.04% gain. So an 888 wouldn't have worked with Alaska Airlines, and I think a lot of it has to do with you have a lot of chop. When things are choppy, moving average doesn't really work that well, right? So what if I change this over to something that's moving really well? Like how about S&P? Let's go to SPY, right? Notice here, all of a sudden, the numbers are slightly different. Now, this is using an 8 and 89, which to me is way too long. I'm not a huge fan of going that long. I'll switch it over here in just a second to Les's recommendation, which was 8 and 21. You can see already the results have gotten a little bit better, clearly benefiting from a trending market. So let me change this again. And we'll do, you wanted an 8 and a 21. Okay, so we'll definitely see the number of trades here increase from 141 to 364. Now, it's only made you 0.11%, so it has not worked that well in this. And to answer the question that came in and from Karen, is this is just one way you can kind of just plug and play here, modify these numbers a little bit, and see which one gets you the best results. Now, this may take some time to do. Is it the 8 and a 21 that's going to be the best, or what if I go? Anybody else got a different time frame? Let me know. But to me, it's kind of fun to plug and play and see what would give you the best results. So let's go. I don't know. Let's just do something weird and do a 20 and a 50, which is going to be extremely lagging in its signals. It'll give us fewer signals. So we actually had better results and a lot fewer trades. 37% profitable trades, profit factor of 1.297. So you get some basic feedback here. You can see performance summary here, the net per trade. It's a simple, nice, easy feature that's built into TradingView that you can use for free and kind of plug and play the different numbers. So that's how I would do it, Karen. There are some services out there you can pay for. Why bother? Why bother? Don't pay for it unless you absolutely have to. In your settings here, you can see that there's just really the time frames you can change. You can see your order size as well. There's pyramiding. If you don't know what pyramiding is, it's when you're adding to winning positions. So that's another one. You can actually factor in commissions here and all these different variables to get a better idea of how a specific strategy might perform. So there you go. That's an easy feature. Again, to get to that, you just use TradingView. They're a free account. No need to pay for anything on TradingView at this point. But if you go to your indicators up at the top, there's a thing called strategies, and you can try all kinds of different ones. Now, to go to the question from Chris Cedeno, he says, how do you feel about Bollinger Bands? Well, I actually like Bollinger Bands. And the main reason, voice is going out. Hold on. Whiskey break, everybody. I got to have a little sap of this fine Kentucky bourbon from Kings County Distillery. There's a Kings County in Brooklyn, New York. All right. Kings County makes it sound like it's in the middle of Tennessee. I'm out in Kings County out here making bourbon whiskey. And it's in Brooklyn. Yeah, I love Brooklyn. Anyway. All right. So how do I feel about Bollinger Bands? I actually really like the concept of Bollinger Bands. However, as everybody here will tell you, anybody who's a regular, I hate having a dependency or making decisions using an indicator. So, for example, there are some people who say, Bollinger Bands are the answer. Anytime it pierces the upper Bollinger Band, goes short. Hell no. Absolutely not. Right? A pierced upper Bollinger Band simply tells you that something has accelerated aggressively, but it might continue up for a long period of time. Likewise, if something breaks the lower Bollinger Band, does that mean it's all of a sudden a buying opportunity? No. But if I can line up a Bollinger Band pierce with a demand zone, then all of a sudden I feel much more confident about that. So let me see if I can give you an example here. I'm going to just take all of this stuff off. I'll just hide it so we don't see all these things. Take the strategies off. And let me see what might be a good example of something that's pierced the lower Bollinger Band and maybe coming into an area of demand. How about... okay, this is a decent one. How about Exxon Mobil? All right. So here's Exxon Mobil. And you guys can see that it's had a pretty aggressive sell-off over the past week and a half. It's in an area that I really wouldn't call a strong demand zone. You guys, it just doesn't look really strong. But you could argue that this is a demand zone. So you look at this price chart here. I'm pretty sure it's outside its lower Bollinger Band. How do I know? Well, let's remove some of this stuff. I'll take the strategy out of here. I'll go to indicators and I'm going to put on Bollinger Bands. Okay, Bollinger Bands, add those in, and lo and behold, oh look, I'm outside the lower Bollinger Band. By itself, this doesn't make it a screaming buy, all right? Because this news could have come out on Exxon Mobil. We have issues with oil, right? We'll look at oil charts here in a little bit. This could continue down. I think you might actually see it close this gap that we saw jump up on September 24th of this year. But, in a lot of scans and filters, I do run to see if there are breaks outside of Bollinger Bands as potential buying opportunities or selling. Hewlett-Packard's another good example right now. If you look at HP, right? Notice HP, not only is it outside for one day outside the Bollinger Band, it's outside for a second day, huge drops. But where's it coming into? It's coming right into an area of demand where, you see this level right around 24 bucks. Now I might actually think that's a buying opportunity. But by itself, just because it pierced the Bollinger Bands, it doesn't mean that much. It just means it's oversold at that specific moment in time. There's a lot of ways we can use Bollinger Bands, but I personally like to use them from an overbought or oversold into an area of demand. A lot of these natural resource companies like EOG. So here's another one that's outside its lower Bollinger Band. And if I was to look at a little demand zone, I'm dead center of one right now. I could actually probably cheat. This is cheating a little bit and pull it down to right here. I'm still dead center of that demand zone using Bollinger Bands and a retracement. And it's been on a nice uptrend. So again, I'd rather find something that's trending to the upside, as EOG Resources is, right? It's been trending up since April of last year. And making higher highs, higher lows. We have a pullback into demand, an aggressive oversold with Bollinger Bands. Perfect, right? This also works for the upside. If I find something that's been weak, right, it's been trending down, and all of a sudden I have a big pullback into like an all-time high, then I could also be using Bollinger Bands. For example, what comes to mind? Micron, Moo, right? So Micron Technologies, here's one that is ripping through an upper Bollinger Band, but where's it coming into? Well, I would draw a supply zone somewhere in here, right about there. So we did pierce it. We did break that upper supply zone. But, is there still opportunity here? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens on Monday. But, Chris, that was kind of a long-winded answer on Bollinger Bands there. But I am a fan of Bollinger Bands. We just have to understand with all these indicators, what's the basics behind how they work? How do they function, right? What I always recommend is, if you look at a chart like this, right now we have Micron Technologies up. Here's Micron. Look at the price chart and say, would you want to trade that? Right? Would this look like a potential short opportunity? And I would say yes. It's a little risky because we have broken this kind of consolidation that you saw from August and September. We broke out of that, which is a very bullish sign. But it's had a pretty strong run. It's coming into some overhead supply. This could potentially be a shorting opportunity here. And then I'll ask myself always, okay, well, what are Bollinger Bands saying? What's RSI or CCI or ADX? What are these different indicators going to say? And then tell yourself, all right, well, where do I think price is relative to its upper Bollinger Band? Put a little mark on your screen and then go, okay, well, I was a little bit off. And you'll start to train your eye so that you never really have to have these on your charts. I think it clutters them and makes them ugly. I'd prefer mine to be naked, right? Just show me a clean, simple chart. Saba says, can you use both an exponential and a simple moving average? You could. I don't know if the strategies tester here in TradingView will let you do that. Let's go moving average 2-line cross. Oh, I can only add a certain amount, so I have to take off one of these. Hold on. You can only add 4 indicators at a time. No problem, Chris. Happy to help. So let me take off the Bollingers, and I will add in a moving average 2-line cross strategy. Oh, well, now they don't want to let me add on that third one. Sneaky. Oh, there, it's already in. Okay. So when you go into settings, let's see if it allows me to. No, it's just going to do simple moving averages in this. And in some platforms, you can pay and get exponential and simple moving average crossovers, but not on this one. And maybe in the paid version you can, but there you go. So Saba, sorry, no, doesn't look like you can do it. Okay, I think from the questions I had, yes, that wraps up the 3 questions. Summarize kind of 3 questions that I had from last night. Now, let's take a peek at what's going on in the overall markets, because there were some pretty good numbers this week. We'll start things off with who was the best performers and work our way down from there. As you can see, I've got my little list all separated, and if I sort it by today, you've got Nasdaq leading the way, the only positive index out there, at least from the 7 that I watch, and you can see just still ripping through highs, looking great. Was just curious if that would affect the percentage rate of return. Yes, it would. Absolutely, Saba. And why do you think it would impact the rate of return? Because if we're using a moving average crossover and they're both simple moving averages, they are gonna have they'll be a little more smooth in their reaction. If I throw on an exponential moving average, that reacts faster. So number one thing I can tell you immediately is you're going to have a lot more trades. right? I don't know, 10, 20, 30% more trades, depending on what, I guess, time span you're going to have. You'll also be getting into trades earlier and getting out of them earlier. That's the trade-off. So if I get in earlier and I get out earlier, in theory, I should be making more money. But remember, you're also going to be making more trades. So that's part of it. But there you go. My 2 cents on your rate of return impact on that one. So, NASDAQ for the week actually looking great, up 2.41%. Today was up 0.65. It has been pretty much up all week. And again, looking just back to beautiful. I actually thought we'd maybe form a double top here on our Wednesday candle. I was kind of hoping we would, but just didn't get follow through. I actually was all ready to make some short trades on Thursday on this. Didn't break the lows. Oh, well. Number 2 for the day was Bitcoin, down 0.32%, but really, for the week, guys, it's down 9.8%. A pretty ugly slide for Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies for that matter, except the one that I didn't buy. For those of you who are in the Crypto Investor Live program, I mentioned the name a few weeks back of a cryptocurrency that I've been wanting to buy, and I did not buy it. I'll show you the chart here. Kicking myself on this one because it's been on my list. I meant to buy it. I've just been so busy. I did not buy any Render token, which is far and away one of the best performers out there today. Take a peek at this price chart, guys. This is just unbelievable. I had this on my screen at $1, at $1. And it's gone from, on November 2nd, it was at $1, and it just broke, almost hit $7.50 today. Just kicking myself on that one. Son of a biscuit! Anyway, there were a few that were doing well. Shiba Inu, the ultimate dog shit coin, is up 14% today. But that's a garbage one. Here is one that's actually pretty good, which is Algorand, EGLD, looking great today, up 16%. So there's a lot of green right now as we're having a bounce in the entire crypto space. You can see even the worst performer in this list that I have is up 1.67% for Algorand in the last 24 hours. So a nice little move there. Yeah, Shiba Inu. Blah, blah. All right, so where was I? So let me run through the 7, and then I'll get to Marathon and Moderna for you. So that was, we were on Bitcoin, which for the day, okay, it's getting a little bit better, but still on the week, down 9.8%. It's your worst performer for this trading week. Moved to SPY or S&P 500 on the day, pretty much unchanged. It's like a little spinning top formation. And for the week, just barely up. It was up 0.38%, so you had slight gains. I guess the good news for anybody who's long S&P is you broke the all-time highs today on a Friday. Not bad. Still looking pretty good. Next on our list is going to be gold. So gold was down today 0.78%. It's been a rough week. Overall, down just 1.08% for gold. I still am bullish on it. I do think you'll see a sell-off, maybe down to the 1834, 1835 mark, which would be about another $10 away from here. So just a little bit more retracement. And if we can catch a bid, see that thing bounce and maybe break some new highs right around 1880. So that was gold. Russell 2000, which Tom says, check out RUT. Is the yellow box back? I guess you could argue that it is. My problem with it is, with the yellow box, is that once you break into the upside, it kind of negates the whole point of being a range-bound trade. So for those that might not know, we had a yellow box on this market range here for months. It was months that this thing was true. And I think I actually cut it. I cheated and put it here, somewhere right in there. So I cut off this little peak. But anyway, that yellow box, we were waiting for the breakout. Otherwise, just play the range-bound market. I mean, it was just bouncing back and forth in this range for month after month. Perfect, right, for any spread traders. Now, the question is this breakout, is this most recent move back just a retest, and then we get the next leg up? Or does it just kind of keep drifting back down, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves back in the yellow box? It could. I don't know at this point, Tom. My gut, the way the markets are going, tells me it's just a little bit of a retest, but we're starting to see more talk track and fear spreading about inflation. If you're paying attention to what's going on down in New Zealand, is all of a sudden being very aggressive with regards to their inflation. They were at 25 basis points on their Fed funds rate. They raised it to 50 basis points last meeting, so a 25% increase, and now the talk track is we should see a 50 basis point increase on Tuesday for New Zealand at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So to me, that is a pretty dangerous thing because it sets the tone for what the U.S. is doing. We have I guess percentage-wise, potentially higher inflation than New Zealand has. And New Zealand's being very aggressive in their steps to combat it. If the U.S. starts to follow suit, that means we could see rates raised sooner rather than later. And right now the talk track is, oh, later, later, later. That could rear its ugly head. So if we start to see the U.S. get more aggressive, then this won't be a retest. This will be a full-on correction back down into this yellow box zone here. But, that's all hypothesis. Who knows what on earth is going to happen over time. All right, crude oil. This is really the big story of the day. Again, it's a similar picture to the Russell. We had it kind of traversing sideways for so long, broke out of it, looked good, and then all of a sudden started to falter a little bit, a pullback, it retested the highs again, and all of a sudden we start seeing new lows being put in. So this, to me, is a very negative sign on crude oil. There's a lot of people thinking that it's overdone, it's going to be bouncing back up. Personally, I would agree with that. This could be a bear trap where it's pulling in people to get short here as it broke this 77.50 mark on CL. Over the long haul, I still think you're looking at that long-term trend is to the upside. So just join that one and stay with that trend. Granted, back in here, guys, I was bearish. We were making lower lows. And all of a sudden, I said, oh, we'll stay bearish until we break it. Well, we broke it. Now moving to the upside. So, yes. Tom, remember, it's a different part of the market. Tom says markets are one thing, real business is another, but the Russell represents real business in my humble opinion. Well, I mean, it all represents real business, does it not? It's just the Russell represents maybe the smaller companies out there. So I think it all represents business, which is why I was really surprised to see over that period of months that when the markets were going up and up and up, Russell just stayed sideways. It was really, really weak. Alan, that's a good one. So there you go. Mike, Kraken does not have the render token. Which service has all the cryptos that you follow? None of them. It's a great question, Mike. None of them have all of the cryptos that I follow. It's one of the challenges and kind of one of the things we spent a bit of time on in the Crypto Investor Live program is finding out, the best exchanges for each one. If you're looking for render token, probably the biggest exchange volume-wise right now is KuCoin. It's out of Singapore. So that's where I would be buying some. I actually have money sitting there. I've been so busy with so many other things. Obviously being ill with COVID kind of put a damper on my things, but that's where you would probably find the best liquidity. Each cryptocurrency, doesn't matter, pick any one you want. Every single one of them is going to have different liquidity on different exchanges. For example, you can't even buy a render token on Coinbase or Kraken. You're like, well, now I have to shop around and find it. It's outside the US right now. Now, what's interesting is if all of a sudden render token gets listed, I think actually, hold on, wait a second. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it may be on Coinbase. Hold on. I think that was the talk track, was that they were going to add it to Coinbase. But let me see here real quick. We'll just bring up the Coinbase account, show you guys assets. And let me see if render was on here. No. I could have sworn my buddy was telling me they had it on there. But, if it does come over and get listed on U.S. exchanges, then all of a sudden it'll really pop. But I'm just waiting for the pullback. I'm really waiting for that pullback in render, and I'm just kicking myself for it. It's going to be that one that drives me nuts for quite a while. I won't be commiserating with you. What else did we have out there to talk about? We already looked at the Turkish lira, which of course was just been an absolutely nuts currency. That continued on today. Here go to USD TRY. Continuing on, and again, this is one of those charts that will probably continue until it doesn't. It's such an asinine statement to make, but right now that trend is your friend. Again, the spreads in this are obnoxiously large, so I would just stay away from it. But yeah, maybe in February, March of next year, it might be a great time to go visit Turkey because your dollar is going to buy you so much more money. All right, what else? I had some other questions. LC Lithium stocks seem to be moving up. Do you follow that segment? I don't, Mike. Unfortunately, I don't follow that. I don't follow lithium. Let's see. What's the benefit of having thousands of different cryptocurrencies? Well, that's a great question. What is the benefit of having thousands? And again, there's over 14,000 different cryptocurrencies. What's the benefit of having thousands of them? Competition And normally when you have, let's say, 10 companies competing in the same space, over time, the customers and the industry will look at those 10 competing companies and say, all right, here's our list of things that we would demand from a company like this. I want fast executions. I want high liquidity. I want the software to function this way. I'm looking for these types of properties. And ultimately what will happen is out of those 10, you're going to whittle it down to maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 companies that are kind of the lead dogs. Just look at internet browsing, right? There's only a few companies now. But if I go back into the 90s, there were dozens of different Ask Jeeves. Anybody using Ask Jeeves anymore? Right? Where's your Netscape? Well, those have all been bought up. Technology's been merged and making better products. Unless, of course, you're Microsoft and Microsoft Edge when you still make crap. So I think the benefit is if a company's... I'll give you a high-level example. You could look at something like Ethereum and say Ethereum dominates the marketplace right now. They have the network effect. Almost every app out there in the crypto space is using Ethereum. It has massive problems. As I showed you guys the other day, for it to send 19 cents worth of Ethereum from one exchange to another, they wanted to charge me a $132 fee. So it's the lead. Ethereum's it. It's the big daddy of the industry, but it has a massive fundamental flaw. So now you all of a sudden bring in companies like Solana, which does way more transactions per second. It's centralized, but the fees are incredibly cheap. Now all of a sudden, companies are going, hey, we're going to migrate our technology away from Ethereum over to Solana. So why do you have all these companies? Because the strongest will survive. Whatever fits the needs of that society or that marketplace the best should, in theory, be the dominant player. Now, up until, let's say, 2-3 years ago, there was no other competition. Ethereum had it. And to me, Ethereum is making a big mistake. It's really looking at it from the perspective, like I tweeted out that it's the same thing that Kodak did. You guys all remember 35 millimeter or 36 millimeter film? I don't even know what it was, 30-something millimeter film. I remember going down and developing it all the time. Now, if you look at film today, most people aren't using 35 millimeter film. It's all digital. Well, Kodak had one of the original digital cameras. I owned it. I bought their digital camera. I thought it was amazing. I said, this is the future of photography. Yet for some reason, Kodak just did not see it, didn't pursue it, and said, we've got the dominant marketplace. We dominate with physical film. We'll be good forever. Where's Kodak today? Remember they were bidding to say, we're going to create a COVID vaccine, and they got $500 million from the government? Someone should be investigated on that one. But bottom line is, you had a competitive advantage and you let it slip away, and you could have absolutely been the marketplace leader with that technology. Unfortunately, Kodak let that slip away. And I think right now it's the same thing is happening with Ethereum. They're letting it slip away because they could easily adjust the code and fix the fee problem, but they're not. Right? They want to keep those fees high. Okay, great. Well, I'm not using Ethereum for anything right now. Is it 36? It was 35 millimeter. Mickey, yes, he's the photo guy. I'm going to trust you because you said, I thought it was 35 millimeter. That's 36? It was 35 millimeter film. Come on, don't mess with me, Mickey, yes. Maybe it's the whiskey. I just can't remember. Okay, so that's why you have so many of them. It's easy to create one. And if you have the right development team behind you, you have the right staff, infrastructure, it's not that hard to become the lead dog very quickly. Very quickly. So I get confused since people are mostly just trading these cryptos and they are not in uses yet on the high scale versus being used as a currency in exchange goods. Yeah, and most of them are going to be used. It is 35 millimeter. Thanks, Les. Mikias is just messing with me. Most of these cryptocurrencies right now are not being used as a currency medium. They're being used for I guess to perform actions in their ecosystem. So for example, Ethereum's not intended to be used for me to send you money, right? Ethereum is really designed to be used as a payment system to use and access their network. That's what ETH is. ETH is just the token payment system to use their blockchain, which is a use case and a very good one. If you something like Decentraland or Mana, that is used to be a medium of exchange inside their game. It's not intended for me to send you $50,000. It's not really what it's designed for, but some people are using that. So the use cases are generally in their own ecosystem. For example, Solana is going to be used for you to do what? Make transactions on the Solana network. Polkadot is used for what? To make transactions on the Polkadot network. It wasn't meant to be, hey, let's send me $50,000. How do you want it? Polkadot, Ethereum? Oh, there we go. So, no, I haven't read on that, but we're going to look at that for Katut. So I'm glad you mentioned Riot and Mara, because we can look at, first off, here's Riot Blockchain. On the daily, not the greatest looking chart, right? It feels like it's just traversing sideways right now. Granted, we did have a nice breakout, but it came right up in the area of supply, come ripping back down. So technically, I'm not a big fan of Riot Blockchain, just technically. Fundamentally, yeah, sure, why not? You know, they're doing well. Mara, in that same basic space, looking better. I think Novogratz, who's the guy who's, he's Galaxy. But you came right back down with Mara into that area of demand that it broke out from. Right at $52, $50, somewhere in that range, and now all of a sudden popping up. So I like this chart better than Riot if I had to choose the two. Now, you wanted mRNA, right, Katut? I think that's the one that you wanted, Moderna. It's a really ugly chart. Like, how do you play this one? Do you call this most recent move a pullback into an area of demand, and now we get our next leg up? You notice we've had three runaway gaps. You jump down here. We have yet to fill these gaps. So, I would definitely keep my eye on those specific gaps. I think that you'll probably see this one close here rather quickly. It's a question of, what's Moderna going to do? I don't really follow the fundamentals on Moderna and, all the drug approvals and, requirements that are being imposed by the governments, etc. I don't really follow all that stuff. Not my area of expertise at all. But technically, this looks pretty bad. From a technical perspective, it should be, short these rallies. Was this a subpoena, Jay? I have not followed that one at all. You know why? And again, it's some people might just be joining this. Go, God, this Merlin's ignorant. He just doesn't follow Moderna. I can't trade drug stocks. I'm not allowed to trade drug stocks. It's forbidden in my trading plan. So Moderna, Pfizer, Eli Lilly, I can't trade those. So I really don't even follow that industry. It's not really... makes no difference to me because of, and it's not like it's regulators. It's not like the feds have come in and said, you can't trade that, Merlin. It's a personal thing because in the late 90s when I was trading drug stocks, I was getting my butt handed to me more often than not. I was having huge losers and I said, you know what? I can't figure out why I'm losing all the time with drug stocks, so just eliminate it. That and Apple are gone from my list. Cisco's not written in my trading plan, but I should add it, or I don't trade Cisco either, just because of big losses. And Best Buy. Best Buy I can trade again at some point if I want. So anyway, there's my 2 cents on that. What time we got? Holy cow. Let me bring up the end of the day stuff here just so I can get through that and finish my glass of whiskey and go enjoy a nice weekend. Here is what we have cooking for Monday. There really is nothing overly exciting earnings-wise for Monday, but you have some economic announcements, as you can see here for the U.S., existing home sales, that's going to be happening on Monday at 7 a.m., I believe Pacific time, so basically 30 minutes into the trading session is when you get that announcement. Right now, expectations are we're going to slowly start to drop down. Did I have the wrong ticker symbol in there, Jay? I may have. Did I type it? That'd feel really stupid if I did. No, I have it in there. mRNA. That's Moderna. I have the right symbol. mRNA. Jay, you're messing with me today. I had the right one in there. So there's your economic calendar. Not a lot of really... Oh, yeah, David, let's talk about gold and silver here in just a sec. Excited about both of those, actually. Retail sales numbers come out from New Zealand. And again, this is a week that I will probably pay more attention to New Zealand than I normally do. I really don't follow their economic data too much, but notice the retail sales numbers are expected to just come crashing down in New Zealand. Of course, they just had a rate increase, and I think you're going to see... I don't know what the odds are, but it really does feel like they're setting up for a 50 basis point increase on Tuesday. Let's see. Anything you're looking closely coming up the next few weeks or months macro? Well, as the macro information, I'm always looking at the economic data. There's stuff that happens every week that's noteworthy and we should be paying attention to. So that's one of the main reasons at the end of every show, part of it is I'm reading out the economic announcements to you. And part of it is it's just making me aware of the stuff that's going to happen. Like next week, for example, there's a couple of big things. You got German flash services manufacturing on Tuesday. You also have New Zealand on Tuesday. And later on in the week, you start to get some information for the U.S. like GDP data. I mean that starts to get pretty interesting. And of course, people are really focusing on GDP. We get that. I think that's on Wednesday. So, I'm usually looking a week out. Not much longer than that. Certainly when you have Fed meetings, you understand that you got to keep your eye on when those meetings are coming. Okay. Am I still with Sam Seiden? Alvin, bite your tongue. I hate Sam Seiden. I despise that guy with all my heart. I think he's a clown. That's my personal opinion. Absolutely not. I want nothing to do with that individual. I wish him whatever he does with his company out there. Good luck to you, Sam. Beat it. Don't ever cross my world again. I hope he disappears. No, I absolutely want nothing to do with that guy. Ever. I think you should do your homework if you do anything with Sam. So anyway, that's all I'm saying. Done. Despise that individual. Is it slander to say I hate somebody? I don't think so. I hate that guy. Period. Yeah, Alvin, you must be new. Man, just dig deep into his past. Do a little research on the guy and you'll understand. Ugh. Oh, okay, good. You're getting me all heated here, Alvin. Don't get me fired up. It's Friday, man. I got to go into the weekend with a smile on my face. Yeah, hey, Sam, how's your business doing, buddy? How's it going over there? All right, sorry. Let's end. Bygones be bygones. Could it be more clear? Was I misleading there? Anyway, hey, to each his own. I guess in life, karma comes back around and bites you for the things that you do, which is why I think you should live your life the best way. Treat people with respect. Treat people with dignity. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. And some people just choose not to live that way. Good for him. All right. What else do we have? Gold and silver for you. And by the way, thank you very much, David. You sent me something on the Polkadot JW script wallet. It still didn't fix my solution, but now I understand what you were looking at. I still can't find out the balance of those wallets. Kind of crazy. Let me see. I want to go real quick and look at gold and silver, then I have to run because I have a 3 o'clock meeting, which is going to be right down to the wire, but I promised you guys I would look at gold and silver. So I'm just going to do GLD and SLV as opposed to the futures. So here's GLD. Gold is screaming that it wants a pullback right now, in my opinion, right? You have this little island reversal. So for those that don't know, an island reversal is where something moves really aggressively and rips to the upside, and then it has a runaway gap, traverses sideways and creates an island of price, and then comes back down aggressively. Notice we have some big unfilled gaps here on GLD. Of course, this is GLD, not the futures market, which is going to remove a lot of these gaps. But nonetheless, it looks like this is begging for a pullback. So, what do we do? Well, you could put little border lines on this one, and I would say if it stays in this range between 172.55 and 174.80, don't do anything. If it breaks above 174.80, long opportunity. Breaks below it, you got a short opportunity, and the money, it appears to me, would be to the south side, and that there's potential gap fills going on here. Now, SLV is a better looking chart, right? Higher highs, higher lows, stair stepping up. I think you'll see SLV pull back a little bit more, but right now you're actually at the breakout retest. So I like silver more. I did not sell puts this month. Unfortunately, normally I cracked up. I'm just happy, man. I'm happy. I'm past COVID, and I'm glad I get to have a real life again. But yeah, I did not sell any puts this month. I'm going to see if I get a little deeper pullback, and I'll probably sell some puts on SLV here. For the long term, I'm happy owning SLV. I'm totally fine owning SLV. Gold makes me a little bit nervous, even though I think long term both will be good plays. Again, we're incorporating in aspects of market timing. If you look at this chart here, let's just do a weekly of gold. How much time I got? Oh my God, 6 minutes. You look at the weekly, it's just drifting lower. It doesn't look great. And this is not where the trend line should draw. I'm just doing it just to give a ballpark idea, right? It's not connecting any highs here. But then you look at that same chart on SLV. Notice it's not as clear of a downtrend. It seems like it's making a similar low. So to me, it feels a little bit stronger here than GLD. But either way, I think both are probably good plays. Brendan's not here, so I can't look at uranium charts, which he loves to look at. I don't look at uranium, but you do have things like copper as well. Copper has been doing great. I think the expectation is that with the infrastructure bill and more infrastructure projects, copper will be a big benefactor there, and I think you're seeing that in the price charts now. Granted, what has happened? We got a double top. You got your double top put in. I'm going to do this to the bodies. It feels better to go to the bodies, in my opinion, on this, even though we have the little tails. But we could be playing that in between that price range there, those swings on copper futures. So there's definitely plenty of opportunity out there. Infrastructure is not going to really impact lumber. However, lumber's had a pretty big weekly rally as well. It was up 28%. Was it 28% this week? Yeah, 28% this week up for lumber. You gotta love commodities, folks. The moves are just absolutely nuts. We could look at things like soybeans, which not really the greatest chart. We can look at ZC for corn, but really the main action that I've seen is in copper and maybe a little bit of natural gas as we came back down last week into a demand zone on that one. Holy cow! Sell puts on SLV all day long. Yeah, I agree. Have you considered the time of your show? I have, Frank, and I don't know if I will. Is 2 o'clock a tough time? Is it line up with an XLT or something? I just wanted to do it like after the markets close, preferably sooner rather than later. Remember, I used to do Power Trading Radio at 3 p.m., and the thought was maybe they would start that show back up. But Online Trading Academy hasn't done that yet. If they do, I'm happy to do another Power Trading Radio show. And it might be challenging to do 2 shows back to back. But I didn't want to do it at the same time, so I just kind of picked 2 p.m., get that one done, get out of the way. Because if I did a show at, let's say, 4 p.m., then the East Coasters, they're in the middle of dinner. And I do like the live audience. I think the live audience is really the best way to go. Rob says, is the gap necessary? You mean for an island reversal? Yes. So an island reversal, do I have the right technology here? How much time do I have? You got 3 minutes. You had to ask that question 3 minutes before the end of the show, huh? Let me add in a slide here, and I will I'll draw it out for you, just so you can see what an island reversal normally looks like. Granted, it doesn't have to look like this, but this is going to be the normal look for an island reversal. So let me draw a pen here, and there's my pen. So the way an island reversal goes is you got price moving up, right? And all of a sudden, it just gaps up and does that. That's usually a great sign of strength. So what you do is you kind of wrap your lines around that. And you never know if this is going to continue. It might continue. I've known a guy who lost $800,000 shorting the hell out of a gap like this. Don't do it. You wait for confirmation. So you wrap those lines around because it's so strong, it had this big gap. But if all of a sudden, you get a break down below, there's your shorting opportunity. An island reversal would be where it rallies up, jumps up, goes sideways, and then all of a sudden comes right back down. That's your island reversal up there. And yes, it has to have the gap in and the gap out. But then you must be nice on PTR. This is better. I agree, Margaret. And I know, Margaret, you hate when I swear. I apologize for the cursing every now and again. I've toned it down a little bit. Tried to be a little bit more, family show here. Because I know we have some people who actually have their kids watch the show with them. So anyway, everybody, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for the fun. Thanks for the questions. If I didn't get to your question, do me a favor. Send it on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. That might give me some more time to prep. I saw a couple questions that I didn't get a chance to get to. They were going to require a deeper dive into maybe some graphic support, which I don't have TJ here to help me with. So that will be it for today's show on the 19th. I will see you guys on Monday, the 22nd. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to go finish the remainder of this glass of wonderful New York City's oldest whiskey distillery. It's Kings County. Thank you, Kevin, for the whiskey. Thank you guys so much for the show. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you Monday.